Radha Madhava Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari Jaya Mansa Paribhajagacharya Sri Radha Krishna Bhogavna Sam Kanda Radha Kundagiri Gandhi Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Guru Bhagavad Dham Ki Jai Swami Tattvend Ki Jai All glories to that. All glories to that. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Devotees, please accept my respectful Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, please accept my respectful obeisance. All glories to his confounder, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Jyoti Swarup Madhuvan Prabhu, can anybody hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
I hear you very well.
Okay, let's wait for Advaita Krishna Prabhu to start. We are set.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Maybe I'll play some other bhajan while we wait for him.
Krishna Kirtana Ganana Karnapatau Premamrita Vanidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Vaibhava Hara Tarakau Mande Rupa Sanatana Prabhujugo Sri Jiva Gopalakau Mande Rupa Sanatana Prabhujugo Sri Jiva Gopalakau Krishna Kirtana Gana
Hare Krishna. Karika.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, you're welcome.
I'm sorry, Prabhuji. Haribol. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Dandot Pranam. Welcome, everyone. So, let me have a look here. Hare Krishna. So, we are still discussing chapter 5. Process of creation we have discussed. And the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And candidates for qualified, not qualified. Now, the Devatas have actually offered some prayers to the Supreme Lord. Okay. And because of the suspension of the Hare Krishna. I was still here. So because of the suspension of the creation due to the non-mixing of the different elements to produce a desired effect. That is. So we've discussed that in chapter 5 now, chapter 6. This is a development of the gigantic universal form. Is everyone there with me? Yep.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhu.
Om Jnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadadi Sapatantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shannavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Grandharaja Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So let me open up some windows. Get it hot here. So we'll start with chapter 6. Yep. Okay. So we can start by reading the first, and I will try to give you a bit of a link between the 5 and the 6. So here at this stage of the universal creation, which is described at the end of chapter 5 of the 3rd canto, there's 23 elements of creation, namely the Mahatattva, the Ahankara, the 5 object of senses, Tanmatras, the 5 gross elements, and the 10 senses and the mind are existing, but they're in an unmixed state. Is that clear? So, let
Yes,
me, is that okay? So what are the 23 elements? Can someone spell them out for me? You go like this. Let me, can I share my friend?
Yes, yes, you can. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah, you saying 23 elements, but I've been hearing 24 elements of creation. So
No. Just hang on with me.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
I just want to clarify. Yes, thank you.
Okay, just hang on. So let's just look at it here. At this time, what do we have? We have ahankara. We have, first of all, mahat tattva. Okay, we have, first of all, mahat tattva. Then we have ahankara. Okay. Now with ahankara, in ahankara in sattva gun, right? We have the mind. Then with ahankara in tamogun. Okay. Then we have the sense objects, and we have the 5 gross elements and the 5 senses, the 5 sense objects, sorry. Do you follow me? What are the 5 gross elements? We know that, right? And whenever you have the 5 gross elements, the one generates the other. So they're always together, these 5, and then the 5 sense objects. Okay? So earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the 5 sense objects, hearing, sense of, sound, touch, etc. So here you have 5. I want this to be clear. Here you have 5. Here you have 1. And here you have 1. Okay? So let's have a look here. And then it says that so senses and sense objects. Now there's another creation. Okay, we have ahankara in rajagun. They give rise to the 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. These are the action things. That's why in the mode of passion. This is a storing thing. That's why it's in the mode of goodness. Okay? In sattva gun. Okay? Just take your time. We'll take our time. It's no rush. Okay? Here in rajagun. Okay. So how much is that?
It's 23.
Huh?
22 now.
22.
Right. What is missing?
The Mahatattva.
Mahatattva is there. The ahankara. How much is that?
Okay, 23.
23. So the Mahatattva generates the ahankara, And from the Ahankara mixing, sorry, I think I made a mistake. Yeah, the Ahankara mixing with the mode of goodness, okay, produce mind and senses and sense devatas, right? And then it produces the mind and sense devatas here, okay, plus the sense devatas. We've looked at that before, okay? And here it produces the 5 gross elements and the 5 sense objects. And here you get the 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses. So these are all, now look at these carefully, all of you here. These are all kind of inert. The Mahat Tattva is a portion of the Prakriti material energy, or the material energy, that in each body it will go. And this is the Ahankara, the false ego. In each unit it will be there. The mind will be there, and just forget about the sense devatas here for the time being. Okay. So then the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, you know that, right?
Yeah. Yes. Fire.
Okay. And here you have the sense objects, which is sound, okay, taste, sight, touch, and smell. Okay. Right. You have this 5. Now, what is the problem here? All this is there, but there's something missing. They're all there. All these inert things are there. But you require some working intelligence to mix it together. Do you follow it now? The sense devatas to control the senses are there. They're there. The Mahatat is there. The Ahankara is there. 5 gross elements are there. So all the building blocks of everything is there. Right? Knowledge acquiring senses, everything is there. But why isn't it mixing? So now, therefore, the creative activities are suspended. The creative activities are suspended. So there are predominant deities of all these elements. They are there, here. Okay, the predominating deities of all these elements are also there. Now, this is an important point to remember. What are the predominating deities of all these objects? Because none of these objects, they are generated from matter. They are generated from consciousness. Life comes from life. Matter is not generated from matter. Matter is generated from consciousness. So therefore, the predominating deities represent that consciousness, represent that active force that generates these. So everything is an evolution of subjective consciousness. Everything is an evolution of consciousness. So then, therefore, the working, here it is said that the predominant deities of all elements offered prayers to the Lord. So therefore, how does the Lord respond now? They're there, but it doesn't seem to be working. So they offered prayer to, Maitreya describes how Lord Karanodakshaya Vishnu responds to these prayers by entering into the universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and manifest the Virat universal form. So far we are still talking about Sarga, primary creation. You see? So when we're talking about the sense devatas, we're talking about the spiritual reps the spiritual representative of all these elements. Like water, it has the element water, but the deity, the spiritual counterpart of water, is the personality of water in spirit, in spiritual consciousness. It's in consciousness. That's what it is called here. But they cannot work independently of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, these elements are there, but the creation is suspended. So in 3.6, in this chapter, we discussed that Maitreya Rishi describes how Lord Karanodakshaya Vishnu responds to those prayers by entering into the universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And then he manifests the Virat Rupa universal form, which we haven't really discussed very much in the previous second canto. Some element of explanation is there, but now we're going to look at it here carefully. So is that okay with you? What is a missing link in your understanding?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Kamalaksha, nice to see you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. All glory to you.
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada. So your Shishupti is over. Your what do you call? You were together with Karanodakshaya Vishnu, and now you're coming to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. You come along, eh? You've been busy, eh? Hare Krishna. Nice to see you, Prabhu. Always a pleasure to have devotees. Yes. Okay. So anyone not getting the link? Yes, Madhuvan, Prabhu.
So while the demigods, they are praying for knowledge and empowerment to execute their duties. But to my surprise, Krishna have to reveal his universal form, just the type he revealed to Arjuna. So I'm trying to see how.
Okay, you're trying to understand universal form.
Not that, but why he has to, because these people, they are actually praying for empowerment and maybe knowledge and empowerment to execute their
that's
duties.
a whole chapter. That's a whole chapter. We will understand it. We will just we will understand it. That's a whole chapter in itself, creation of the universal form. But I think the obvious question is what are these devatas? What are these sense devatas? That's obvious. Brahmaji has not even come onto being here, and he's not sick. There's no visharga. There's no secondary creation at this point. But the devatas are already there. Isn't that Lord Brahma? He creates the devatas and the planetary systems. We've read that. But here it's a different thing. It is a personality to control all these different elements. They have their personal consciousness, spiritual counterpart.
Okay.
You follow? Not just that the elements exist by themselves. The element exists because there's spiritual counterpart. Just like Mother Ganga is water, because there's a spiritual personality called Ganga Devi, and she takes the form of water. Just like the Himachala, you know, the massive mountains are present because there's spiritual personality.
Yeah.
Himachala, and he takes the physical form of the mountains. So everything comes from a person. That's our philosophy. That's the proper philosophy. Everything comes from a person. Nothing comes from just matter. Matter does not generate matter. It comes from a person. And those persons in charge of, just like Varun Dev is in charge of water, right? That's one thing.
But my question is that why should Krishna manifest his universal form? And that for what purpose? How is he going to satisfy them taking such a step? You know, it's just the same in supervisor form.
No, because
Like
your question is what he does, he energizes the mixing by him. But just like the body has all the elements of creation, the body has all the elements of activity in it. But if the soul is not there, the body cannot work.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like that. Yes, Rasavan Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. I be my humble businesses at your little feet. Yeah, Prabhu, please, I'll beg you to take us into the personalities of these devatas of the senses. For instance, like you cited Ganga as water.
This is just,
okay.
I give you an example. It doesn't mean that Mother Ganga is a particular personality of the river Ganga. And these sense devatas, as is mentioned here, they are personalities who actually are there supervising the material elements. They are the overseer of the elements. Otherwise, the elements we cannot act accordingly. But even the sense devatas themselves, they are unable to make all these elements act accordingly because they need the coordination by the Paramatma, by the Supreme Lord. Okay, they are like the handler. I don't know how to explain that, but they're like the handler of these elements. So let's carry on and we will come to more. But actually, this is a very interesting introduction. And now we will start with the text one. Okay. Rishi Ruvacha, the Maitreya Rishi said, the Lord has heard about the suspension of the progressive creative fractions of the universe due to the non-combination of his potencies, such as a Mahatattva. So the Lord heard through the prayers that things are not working out, my Lord. The non-creation, the non-creative functions, not right. So he's saying that it is not working. So when Lord Mahavishnu, he heard about it. So let's see about the purport. Prabhupada is saying there's nothing wanting in the creation of the Lord. All the potencies are there in a dormant state. But unless they are combined by the will of the Lord, nothing can progress. Right? So everything may be there. Right? Like, for example, you may even have a body, like a body, human body, and the soul may even be there. And all the elements are there. And it may all be functioning. But without the will of the Lord, that person cannot use any of the senses and cannot do anything. Quite interesting. So the soul in itself may be the doer. That's why the world is created. He's a secondary doer, a tertiary doer. But without the will of the Lord, a fully alive person cannot do anything. It's quite interesting. So the suspended progressive work of creation can only be revived by the direction of the Lord. So text 2. Kala samgyam tada deving vibra chaktim urukrama trayovim sati tattvanang ganang yugha padavisat pad avisat. The Supreme Personality, the Supreme Powerful Lord, then simultaneously entered into the 23 elements with the goddess Ali, his external energy, who alone amalgamates all the different elements. Let's read this. Purport. The ingredients of matter are counted as 23. The total material energy, Mahatattva, the Ahankara, false ego, sound, touch, form, taste, earth, water, fire, air, sky, eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, hand, leg, evacuating organs, genitals, speech, and mind. It's all been explained in the diagram, and you have it here. All are combined together by the influence of time and are again dissolved in the course of time. Right? So what is not fully activated here? Let's have a look. Time, therefore, is the energy of the Lord that acts in her own way by the direction of the Lord. So yes, these things are generated by the mixing of the modes. The modes are in agitation. In pradhana, then becomes mahatattva. Then ahankar is degenerated. Then modes of sattva gun mixes with ahankar. Then the sense devatas are mind. Then in rajogun, then the working senses. Then in tamogun, the sense objects and the elements for material creation, the 5 elements. But they are not able to mix properly because it's like everything is aligned, but the departure shot has not been fired, which is the will of the Lord. Okay, when he decides. So how does he do that? By time. This energy is called Kali and is represented by the dog destructive goddess generally worshipped by persons. Which energy? This time energy. This time energy here, it is said. Right? And it is generally worshipped by persons influenced by the mode of darkness or ignorance in material existence. So in the Vedic time, this process is described as Mulla Prakritir, Avikritir, Mahadhadya Prakritir, Vikrita Vyasapta, Soda Shakastu Vikaro, Napakriti Navikritir Purushaha. The energy which acts as material energy, nature is a kind of combination of 23 ingredients, is not the final source of creation. The Lord enters into the elements and applies his energy called Kali. In all other Vedic scriptures, the same principle is accepted. In Brahma Samhita, it is stated. So the Lord is always working with Shaktis, energies, personalities, representing these energies. So the Lord is Shaktiman, is the source of all energies. And without the different energies, the Shaktis working with the Lord, under his supervision, under his overseer, things don't work out as they should. So the energy we act as, so the Lord enters into the elements and applies his energy called Kali. In all other Vedic scripture, the same principle is accepted. In Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Eko piyasora chayutum jagatanda koting yakchaktirasti jagatanda chayaya dantar andantaras paramanu chayantarastam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is the original personality of Godhead. By his personal plenary expansions, Mahavishnu, he enters into material nature and then into each and every universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then as Shirodakshaya Vishnu, into all elements, including every atom of matter. Such manifestation of cosmic creation are innumerable, both in the universes and in the individual atoms. So the explanation here is the Lord Govinda, he enters by his plenary expansions Mahavishnu. So what does he do there? He enters into material nature and he glances. And then all the universes are created. So in each universe, then a second expansion of Mahavishnu comes into play, which is called Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, enters into each universe. Then in each universe, all different things are created, bodies, mountains, trees, plants, whatever, animals, insects, human beings, devatas, they're all created. And also different elements are created. Iron, wood, whatever, elements we know, all are created within each universe. But all these different elements that are created, all the different units, we can say, that are created, whether it is a combination of atoms to make up Earth, different qualities of Earth, different parts of Earth, which may be different chemical elements, which we know, iron, gold, silver, air, and so on, earthly elements, I mean. So whatever these elements are created, right? Then the Lord is actually including himself into every atom of matter. so that the wood will behave like wood, iron will behave like iron, and gold will behave like gold. So he enters into every matter, every atom of matter. He also enters into every body, so that a tiger will behave like a tiger, will act like a tiger, and a tree will act like a tree, and will hold like a tree. And a lizard will have the sanskara or the consciousness of a lizard and act according to what is there for him, for it. So if you follow what I'm saying, Hare Krishna, Govinda. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so not just that he enters, first of all, he enters into each universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Then when all the different units in the universe are being created, then the Lord has to maintain each and every unit that is created. So there, he's entering as Sirodakshaya Vishnu. That's the explanation. So therefore, it's confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Athava bahunaitena king jatena tavarjuna vistabhyaham gadam krishnam ekam sena stito jagat. O Arjuna, there is no necessity of your knowing about my innumerable energies, which act in various ways. I enter into the material creation by my partial plenary expansion. Paramatma, the soul, in all the universes and in all the elements thereof, and thus the work of creation goes on. So he's saying you don't have to get into the detail of it, but know that it is me as Paramatma that goes into everything. The wonderful activities of material nature are due to Lord Krishna's present, naturally as his plenary expansion, Paramatma. And thus he is a final cause or the ultimate cause of all causes. So without the Supreme Lord, this is not possible. All right? So do you have any question on this? Can you link everything together in your mind so far, please, Prabhu? Kamal Krishna.
We are trying, Prabhu. From the explanation, Prabhu, the way Krishna expanded himself, that means it witnesses all activities, and nothing can happen without his knowledge, because even the atoms scattered all over the universe, it still enters it in form of a super soul. So I don't see anything happening that he will not witness or that can happen behind. That's my understanding.
Yes, he is ever present. Minutely and macroscopically and microscopically. He is ever present in everything. That's why in the second canto you read that he enters everything, but it doesn't look like he enters everything. Yata mahanti bhutani bhuteshu chashvanu pravisthani apravisthani tata teshu na teshu ham. He said he enters, but you do not see that he enters, but he is there. But it may seem like it's all working better because it's working through his energies, through his agencies. Just like here, the mixing agencies, the process of Kala, or Kali, right? Which will make all the mixing going on. So let's keep reading. Every individual soul remains unconscious after the dissolution of the creation and enters into the Lord with his material energy. So the individual living entities are conditioned souls everlasting, but in each and every material creation, they are given a chance to liberate themselves and become free souls. So that's the very essence of creation, the very reason of the creation. They are all given a chance to take advantage of Vedic wisdom and find out what is their relationship with the Supreme Lord, how they can be liberated, and what the ultimate profit is in such liberation. By properly studying the Vedas, One becomes conscious of his position and takes to the transcendental loving service of the Lord and is gradually promoted to the spiritual sky. The individual souls in the material world engage in different activities according to their past unfinished desires, which remains in their heart as samskaras, impressions, which take the form of desires, samskaras. Or after the dissolution of a particular body, the individual soul forgets everything, but the all-merciful Lord does not, who is seated in everyone's heart as a witness. The super soul awakens him and reminds him of his past desires, and thus he begins to act according in his next life. Why? Because these desires are of the nature of enjoyment, separate from the Lord. So it is the mercy of the Lord that is awakened to understanding. You could say, well, why doesn't the Lord just let them forget? How can he let them forget? Because they are the very desires, the independence of the jiva, which actually is a primal force for loving the Lord. So as long as the desires of the Lord, of the individual soul, is against their own self-interest, the Lord will remind them, you still have desires of your own betterment, separate from me, and therefore you're going to be conditioned. So the Lord mercifully reminds them and gives them and award them possibilities to get rid of these desires and become Krishna conscious. And thus he begins to act according in his next life. This unseen guidance is directed as faith, and a sensible man can understand that this continues his material bondage in the four modes of nature. So the Lord reminds us, look, you have these desires. And the jivas will act according to these desires in a perfect harmony with their own desires and, of course, in material nature. So the Lord remembered that this jiva has this particular desire, this jiva has this particular desire. And therefore they're born again with all the different desires and different levels of attainment of position in material world. And therefore now they are awakened again to this. Okay?
I have a question, please.
Yes, Kamalaksha.
They mention speech as an ingredient of matter. At one of the 23 ingredients of matter. But my question is speech the same thing as sound? How is speech part of the ingredient?
Speech. Speech is a function of the tongue.
Speech.
Which
as
is
an
like,
ingredient.
Where does it say? Where are you reading?
Yeah, the ingredients of matter are counted as 23.
Yes.
The total material energy: first ego, sound, touch, forms, taste, smell, earth, water, fire, air, sky, hand,
speech
leg,
and mind.
Speech and mind. Yeah, speech.
Yes, yes,
speech.
Yes. Speech is not sound. Sound is number one. You see, sound is there. There's material energy, false ego. Look at the purport. It's in the previous purport, devotees. It's in purport 2. So it says that first material energy, it's Mahatattva. False ego is Ahankar. Sound. Sound is the original sound of as a sense, tanmatra, as a sense object. We will enjoy sound. So sound here, just like touch, you enjoy touch, or you enjoy form, or you enjoy taste, so you enjoy sound. So here it is tanmatra, it is a sense object. But with what do you enjoy sound? With the ear. With the ear you enjoy sound. And with what you enjoy touch? With your hand. With on your skin, not your hand, sorry, on your skin. You enjoy nice touch on your skin. What do you enjoy taste? Tongue.
Tongue.
Right. What do you enjoy smell?
Nose.
Right.
No.
Nose. But the sound, the touch, the form, the taste, the smell, they're generated from the sky, the air, the fire, the water, and the earth. It is there. You see them. Now, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. The eye, you're looking at the purport, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you have the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, skin. There's 5 here.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
what are they? The eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. Right? These are knowledge acquiring senses. They acquire information, they acquire knowledge. These are the Gyanindriyam. The Gyanindriyam. So when you feel nice touch, it is not, oh, this is nice, this is hot, this is warm, or this is very cooling. You feel it through this skin, which is a sense that acquires that knowledge. Oh, it is nice. Oh, it is too hot. Yeah, it acquires this knowledge. You eat something. The tongue acquires the knowledge. Oh, this is too hot. This is really nice. So the knowledge acquiring. They acquire sensation or like that. So the knowledge acquiring senses. Then follows the hand, leg, evacuating organs, genitals, and speech. 5 more. So hand, leg, evacuating organs, genitals, and speech. 5 more. These are working senses. You cannot actually accomplish anything with the body without these 5. Do you follow? So what is it? I'm speaking, speech. It's a working sense. The tongue, the speech is a working sense, right? The genitals, you engage in sex life or procreation. Then evacuating organs, you remove things from the body. Then the leg make you walk, and the hand make you do things. So hand, leg, evacuating organs, genitals, but speech, power of speaking. Nothing to do with the sound, the power of speaking. So here we have the 5 working senses, karmendriya. So speech is, you can say the tongue or the speech connected together. So like that, right? So now you understand it?
Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
yeah, Shalika Prabhu.
Yeah, something is bothering my mind. I need you to help. This verse that Srila Prabhupada quoted at the end of that purport, 10:42, Krishna telling Arjuna, there is no necessity of your knowing about my innumerable energies, which act in various ways. Please, could you elaborate on what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna? Because in our practical application of devotional life, Gyan is required. But
Yes, but not to that. I understand what your question is. The Gyan is required, like we are trying to understand these different energies working, right? But if you're a devotee of Krishna and you're surrendered to him, you can just listen to him and do what you're doing. You have some basic jnana, right? But do not go to the extent of analyzing all the different shaktis of the Lord. You can just have a bracket within, open and close brackets, all the energies of the Lord works within his supervision, right? But wherever the Lord is directly empowering all the different energies, that we need to understand. That is jnana. But how each of the individual Shaktis, energies work, that could become a little bit more into the domain of Sankhya, understanding all these things. But that's also, to a certain degree, Kapila Dev in the third canto, he explains Sankhya Yoga in quite detail, but in respect of understanding devotional service, proper devotional service. And that's what he's saying here. In terms of understanding proper devotional service, how we can use different lives, different births, different bodies, how the mind works, how the senses work, how different kinds of activities lead to different kinds of destination. This is all Sankhya. You will understand and read this soon after, the glories of devotional service from chapter 25 onwards to chapter 33, which is teachings of Lord Kapila. So yes, in respect to devotional service, we understand this is Sankhya Yoga, which is jnana, in relationship to devotional service. But in relationship to understanding each of them individually, for the sake of understanding each of them individually, without connection to devotional service, there's no point.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Let me ask a follow-up question just before you leave. Sorry. So when Krishna said in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, that after knowing me, without doubt, you know everything.
Nothing is left to be known.
Yes, there's nothing left to be known. So I'm trying to connect this verse to Bhakti, pure Bhakti, because we see that even in our line of acharyas, there are acharyas who never were jnani inclined. They're not, but when they become a devotee, my question is, when one becomes a pure devotee by the process of Bhakti, does Krishna reveals all of this to him? Because even when he has not, because we say that Bhakti includes everything. So if one has not theoretically studied these elements and how Krishna expands himself, so one becomes a pure devotee, does he automatically get revealed to this aspect of knowledge of Krishna?
Well, the process of becoming a pure devotee is by studying under the care of the spiritual master.
Mm-hmm.
And Shraddha is faith. Sometimes we talk about his faith is not strong, this faith is that, this faith. But actually, if you understand the description of Shraddha, faith, it is obtained by solidly studying Shastra under the order of the spiritual master. So then in that sense, when faith is a natural energy, but the faith can be laukika, or can be based on traditions, on popular advice, on popular assumptions or popular knowledge, or it can be based on Shastra. So you have to have that kind of faith. And a pure devotee is considered one who has complete faith, and it is based on both his injunction, understanding of the Shastra, and by logic, both. So without that faith, everything can collapse in your spiritual life. Why do we feel that Prabhupada said books are the basis? Because the foundational principles of Shraddha is the Shastriya knowledge, the knowledge of the scripture.
Thank you.
So it's nothing to do with jnana, it's understanding our own situation and understanding the character of the person we want to serve. So this is the principle of devotionals, the Bhakti Shastras, is we do not go into the detail of atomic theory of Gautama and the 6 Vedic philosophies. We don't go into that. Understanding Sankhya, Yoga, Jnana, Mimamsa, and Purva Mimamsa. We don't go into understanding the 6 Vedic philosophies. Even though Prabhupada said someone sits on the Vyasasana, he should know, he should be very well versed into the 6 Vedic philosophies. But we understand, like we don't go into understanding Sankhya, which is the atheistic Sankhya philosophy of Kapila, but we study Sankhya under our own Kapila Dev, the Supreme Lord. And he explains Sankhya in a way that is related to devotional service. And when we see that Kardama Muni was a great yogi and how he acts in devotional service, and when we see Dhruva Maharaj also applied himself to the process of yoga in devotional service, that's what we study. But we don't study the 6 Vedic philosophies for the sake of becoming, you know, having this different angle of visions according to the Saddarshanas. We don't do that. Those are the Gyanis and the yogis and the speculators do. But we study it from this angle of solidifying the basis, the foundational basis of our Shraddha, our faith, right? I'm telling you, if some of the ISKCON devotees, right, got really pulled into by some of the top class knowledgeable persons in India who have this very powerful, you know, you can actually lose your faith. So we have to have sound logic, and we have to have good shastric knowledge to be able to maintain our faith solidly in the line of devotional service. And if it is not there, then the whole foundation can collapse. And Prabhupada said the books are the basis. So studying these books. So we are limiting ourselves to studying 4 books: Nectar of Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're not studying the other books that explains the agamas, the different shaktis, the different Upanishads, the different Puranas explaining, you know, worship of such and such. We're not studying those. But we are studying our Bhakti Shastras solidly, and Srimad Bhagavatam is a pramana, it has a proof. So we are studying that, and that is more than enough for us. And Bhagavad Gita and Nectar of Devotion. I hope I answered your question in a broad way.
Yeah, very, very nicely answered. Thank you so much.
Okay.
The examples you gave very, very much make it elaborate. Yeah. Thank you.
So we're reading text 4. Oh, no, we read text 4 a little bit. Yeah. The individuals engage in different activities. Yeah, we read text 4. So sorry, I'm confused. Text 3, the purport. Okay, the unconscious, the second part of the purport. The unconscious sleeping stage of the living entity just after the partial or total dissolution of the creation is wrongly accepted as a final stage of life by some less intelligent philosophers. So when there is a dissolution, that's not the end of the life, because the cycle of creation and dissolution is cyclic. Another cycle of creation and dissolution is going to come. Do you follow this? All right. So after the dissolution of the partial material body, a living entity remains unconscious for only a few months, just like in our case. And after the total dissolution of material creation, he remains unconscious for many millions of years. Right? So when this material body is dissolved at the end of my life or your life, then the soul will remain unconscious for a little time, and then it will go back into another body, and the consciousness in that body will be developed due to the presence of the soul in that body. So similarly, after the dissolution of the universe, after the annihilation of the universe, before the next creation, there's a few million years of deep sleep, unconsciousness. That's what Prabhupada is saying, right? He remains unconscious for many millions of years. But when the creation is again revived, he is awakened to his work by the Lord. So the living entity is eternal, and the wakeful state of his consciousness, manifested by activities in his natural condition of life. He cannot stop acting while awake. So therefore, he is put to sleep, so to speak, because there is no creation for him to act within. So when his desires are, so enters the acts according, so when his desires are trained in the transcendental service of the Lord, his life becomes perfect. And then he's promoted to the spiritual sky to enjoy eternal awakened life. So when his consciousness is fully lit by the knowledge of his relationship with the Supreme Lord, then he doesn't have to wait for creation, dissolution. There's no cyclic activities and sleep, which is creation and dissolution. He goes to the eternal abode, and there, nitya, eternally, everlasting, always, he's engaged in wakefulness, in spiritual consciousness. Okay. So 5. When the 23 principal elements were set in action by the will of the Lord, the gigantic universal form or Vishwarupa body of the Lord came into existence. So it is like an arrangement of the Lord of these elements into some kind of a shape or form. That's called Rupa, universal shape or universal form. So the Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, which is very much appreciated by the impersonalists. Now here, very important, he said it is not an eternal form of the Lord. Why it's not an eternal form of the Lord? Because it is a form of the Lord within the material elements. So it is manifested by supreme will of the Lord. Give me a minute. So it is manifested by the supreme will of the Lord after the ingredients of material creation. Okay, so the ingredients of material creation shape themselves into a Virat Rupa. So it, so to speak, the Lord takes a shape, makes a shape for himself, a form for himself within the material elements. That is it, after the material ingredients, Prabhupada is saying. So Lord Krishna exhibited this Virat or Vishwarupa to Arjuna just to convince the impersonalists. That's his original. So the impersonalists, they don't understand that the Lord has a supreme, eternal spiritual form. So just to convince him a little while, a little bit, he shows a form. I have a form, look, material form. I have a form. And they think that this form is spiritual. But this form that is shown to Arjuna is not spiritual form. It is the form of the Lord in material elements. Because the impersonalists, they don't have faith. Why is Krishna is going to show them the spiritual form? So Lord Krishna exhibited to Arjuna this form to convince the impersonalists that he is the original personality of Godhead. So Krishna exhibited this Virat Rupa. It is not that Krishna was exhibited by the Virat Rupa. Do you follow? It is not that Krishna was exhibited by the Virat Rupa. The Virat Rupa is equal to Krishna. No, Krishna is just using the elements to show a form. Here, I have a form. Look. But not just a show form. Right? So the Virat Rupa is not therefore an eternal form of the Lord exhibited in the spiritual sky. It is a material manifestation of the Lord. The Archa Vigraha, or the worshipable deity in the temple, is a similar manifestation of the Lord for the neophytes. But in spite of the material touch, such forms of the Lord as the Virat Rupa and the Archa Rupa are all different, non-different from his eternal form. So it is a form that is there, right? But it is not an eternal form of the Lord. So just like Prabhupada is giving a parallel example, I would say parallel example is a good word to use. The deity form is a form of the Lord in material elements carved out of stone, wood, paint, this and that. But they can accept the service of the Lord, and the Lord can be present within that material sculpted form upon the request of the pure devotee, and then we use it to worship him within that form. So on a individual level, You know, we can have different deities at home, small and big. But on the universal level, there is that Virat Rupa. So, any question? You have the arms up there.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much for this detailed explanation. I think I'm enjoying this particular class a lot because it clarifies so many things that is being in doubt. Based on this text purport, especially this last purport Prabhupada is giving, where do we draw the line between matter and spirit?
Matter and spirit in terms of what? The elements, or in terms of the usage of the elements?
You know, sometimes we say the wood is matter. The deity is carved from the wood or marble or whatever is matter. And but from the explanation in the last few verses from the chapter 5, later part of chapter 5, this place we're reading, you see that actually all of these are directly coming up, manifested from Krishna in one way or the other. Krishna is spiritual, is the ultimate spiritual. So how do we now separate what is matter from spirit? Because Krishna is ultimately spiritual and everything is emanating from him. So how do we connect it? And where is the marketing line?
Yeah, the pure devotee doesn't he sees everything as Krishna's energy? Okay. The pure devotee sees everything as Krishna's energy. The Mahabhagavad, the pure devotee, he sees everything as Krishna's energy. He sees the demons working for the service of Krishna. So how? Because he sees matter as another energy of Krishna, non-different than him. So what is matter and what is spirit? What is material and what is spiritual? That's probably a better question.
Yes.
If you take Krishna out, it is material. If you put Krishna in, it is spiritual. And that is already explained in the long purport of Chatushloki Gita. You will hear that if something is spiritual, say for example the deity in your temple or any temple, is it considered a spiritual object or a material object?
Spiritual.
It is considered a spiritual representation of the Lord, a spiritual object, fully spiritual object. And we cook for them, we offer them clothes, we dress them, we conduct festival around them, we invite people to take shelter of them, and we worship them, we cook for them, we decorate them, we build a temple for them. No, this is not idol worship, this is not object worship, the worship of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because we are trained to see the spiritual, we are trained to see the spiritual side of it. We are trained to see that this is Gauranitai, this is Radha Krishna, this is, Giriraj Maharaj in this stone form, this is Giriraj. So we worship. So, but they are factually Giriraj, factually Gauranitai, and they appear. So then in the same way, if you take that a little bit further, everything from the development of our consciousness, with the development of our consciousness, we could see everything as being Krishna's energy and therefore non-different than Krishna.
Thank you very much.
That is the essence of developing our spiritual consciousness. And then we see no difference between friends, and enemies. We know difference between rocks, pebbles, and jewels. We see no difference between the cow, the elephant, the brahmana, the dog eater, 522. We don't know, so no difference, because it is all related to Krishna, and we see Krishna in everything. So some part of the realization is Paramatma Gyan. We see Paramatma into everything. The other higher aspect is saying that Krishna is into everything more than just Paramatma. So higher than Paramatma realization is this Krishna conscious realization that Krishna is everywhere. Everything belongs to him. Everything is for him. Everything is in him. He is in everything.
Thank you. Ultimately, that is why the pure devotees are abhaya. They are fearless because they can connect Krishna in everything. So they never fear, whether in material world or in the spiritual. They're always fearless.
Because they're united with Krishna, they are connected with Krishna. Why is there to fear? Everything is him, is his. So
no fear.
yeah. So chapter 5, text 5. Parena visata vishwam swasmin matraya vishwarigna kukshobhanyonyam ashadya yashmin loka characharaha. As the Lord in his plenary portion entered into the elements of the universal creation, they transform into the gigantic form in which all the planetary systems and all immovable and immovable creations rest. So this is a universal form. The elements of cosmic creation are all matter and have no potency to increase in volume unless entered into the Lord by his plenary expansion. So this means that matter does not increase or decrease unless it is spiritually touched. Right? So just like our body doesn't have the spiritual touch of the Paramatma within it, it cannot grow. So the entire cosmic manifestation has not assumed its gigantic form by itself, as calculated wrongly by a less intelligent person. As long as spirit is within matter, matter can increase as needed, but without the spirit, matter stops increasing. As long as there is spiritual consciousness within the material body of a living entity, the body increases to the required size, but the dead material body, which has no spiritual consciousness, stops increasing. And this is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. So the entire cosmic body increased by the same process, and we experience in our small bodies. So the Lord is entering there as the soul of the universe. So one should not foolishly think that the individual infinite soul is a cause of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The universal form is called the Virat Rupa because the Supreme Lord is within it in his plenary portion, as here Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Okay. So text 6. Hiranmaya Purusha Sahasra Parivatsarang Andakoshang Avasapsu Sarva Sartopa Brimhita. The gigantic Virat Purusha known as Hiranmaya lived for 1,000 celestial years on the water of the universe, and all the living entities lay with him. So after the Lord entered each and every universe as a Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, half of the universe was filled with matter, with water. The cosmic manifestation of the planetary systems, outer space, etc., which are visible to us, is only 1/2 of the complete universe. Before the manifestation takes place and after the entrance of Vishnu into the universe, there's a period of 1,000 celestial years. So here, 1,000 celestial years of suspension of creation. So all the living entities injected into the womb of Mahatattva are divided in all the universes with the incarnation of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So then everything is contained in the universe, and then when Garbhodakshaya Vishnu comes, then everything gets activated into the shape and the form of the universe within each universe. Otherwise, all the elements are there, suspended and not mixing. So therefore, it requires the soul of the universe, Vishwatma, Vishwarupa. So he comes in and he energizes all the elements into shapes and forms. Right? So all the living entities injected with the womb of the Mahatattva and divided in all universes and incarnations of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and all of them lie down within the Lord until Brahma is born. So Brahma is the first living being. So all the while, all this time here, the suspension of the elements, the entering of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu into the universe, this is all up to here, Sarga, primary creation. And creation of Brahma, Sarga, primary creation. It's all done by Lord Vishnu so far. So when they come to this understanding that Brahma is a creator, how is he a creator? He's an engineer, he's a builder, he's not a creator. Yeah? Oh, Chitraputra Prabhu's come. It's another Shishupti ended. So do you follow this point, what I said? All this so far is just the energy and the activities of Mahavishnu in two levels, Karanodakshaya Vishnu, now Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So all the living entities injected into the womb of Mahatattva are divided into whole universes into the incarnation of Garbhodakshaya, and all of them lie down with the Lord until Brahma is born. So Brahma is born, and Brahma is the first living being within the universe, and from him all other demigods and living creatures are born. So Manu is the original father of mankind, and therefore in Sanskrit, mankind is called Manushya. Humanity is different bodily qualities, is distributed throughout the various planetary systems. So different kinds of humans, different kinds of humanity, which means demigods and everything. So any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, sir.
In this text, in this purport, the last sentence, that humanity is different bodily qualities. It's distributed throughout the various planetary systems. So I think it's bringing our minds, or it's telling us that we have so many planets, and in all the planets, there are living entities, but of different bodily qualities. Can you enlighten us a little bit about this? Because
400,000 species of humans include demigods, gods, demigods, and semi-demigods and semi-demigods or whatever. 400,000 include all of those. So then when you look at the list of species, or 8,400,000 species of life, 400,000 are of this humankind, which includes sometimes 2 forms, sometimes 400 forms, or sometimes different types, including devatas and all of that. That's a 400,000 species. And in different universes, all everywhere, because the explanation is Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanji. In all the different universes, you may be moving from one universe to the other. And the 8,400,000 species of life are within the material creation. So if you think from there, you can understand a bit more. So in the different universes, different devatas are there. In this universe, a certain set of devatas. And in this universe, human beings are there. In other universes, human beings are there. So when you put all of it together, I've confirmed that, but I can't have I confirmed that with my studies, that this is what it says. So what else you wanted to know about that?
Let's talk about this particular universe, and the other planets. Like, for instance, they said even in the sun planets, there are living entities there. So, but they must have appropriate bodies to be able to survive in these planets.
Yes.
So, does it mean that their material combination is different?
Okay, I understand your question. Yes, of course. They're all made of these 5 gross elements. And the material elements, the combination of the material elements are different for different. You see, and there's 23 ingredients of creation here. They combine differently in different proportions with different abilities in different creation of different species and different bodies. Right? So, for example, that's why the subtle format is very important. When you talk about the knowledge acquiring senses, why they call Gyanendriya, the knowledge acquiring senses. So someone in the sun planet also have eyes and also have tongue and also have the ability to taste, to see, to smell, this and that, but they are the gross senses are arranged differently. Just like the example I gave of the cow has an ability of using of holding something with its mouth. So the mouth is being used as an extension of the inner sense of hand. So send different combinations of different elements of these, out of these 23, combine differently to produce different species in this planet and in different planets. Yep.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Like for example, what is okay, snake has? Does he has shoulder? Yes. Uses his upper part near the neck, near the head as a shoulder to stand. So, but it is just not so distinct and clear, but the abilities to do things like that is there. Because in the internal programming of the senses, which is called the antakarana, the internal programming of the senses, the ability to walk, to smell, to eat, to see is there. But you can see that the snake doesn't have any arms and legs, but it can move, right? It can grab, it can squeeze. So your whole body is like an arm for it. So you follow what I'm saying? So, but the ability, the function, the software for doing these things in there, but the hardware is not given. Why is the hardware not given? Because of bad karma. So different karmas give you different abilities. Okay, so let's go to text 7. So the total energy of the Mahatattva in the form of the gigantic Virat Rupa divided himself by himself into the consciousness of the living entities. So a very important statement here. The total energy of the Mahatattva in the form of gigantic Virat Rupa divided himself by himself into the consciousness of the living entities. The life of activity, which is the life of activity based on the senses and the pranas and, you know, and whatever facility is given for activity from Rajagun, and self-identification, which is ahankara, which are subdivided into 1, 10, and 3. Okay, which are subdivided into 1, 10, and 3. Let's read through 7. So what is this 1, 10, and 3? It is a Virat Purusha, or the universal fetus, or the universal form, consists of the total energy of the Mahatattva, divided by himself into first the Jiva Shakti, the consciousness of living, the Jiva Shakti, not the Jivas, the Jiva Shakti, which is the consciousness of the living entities, right? Which later on becomes the material consciousness, which is a Chitta. So Jiva Shakti, consciousness of living entities. Then the free, the one is a Jiva Shakti. Then the Prana Shakti, the life heirs. And then the Atma Shakti, self-identification, which is subdivided into 1, 10, and 3. So the Jiva Shakti, the consciousness of the living entity, is 1. The Prana Shakti is 3. And then the self-identification, which is the then it is divided into 10. The 10 one is actually the activities. We will read through that and we will understand it more. So, and then I will explain it a little bit extra. Consciousness is a sign of the living entity or the soul. The existence of the soul is manifest in the form of consciousness called Jnana Shakti. The total consciousness is that of the gigantic Virat Rupa, which is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, right? And the same consciousness is exhibited in individual persons. So the consciousness, the gigantic total consciousness of the Lord is now exhibited into each of the different created bodies in individual persons. So now the consciousness is manifesting. The activity of consciousness is performed through the air of life, which is of 10 divisions. This is the activities of consciousness. They are performed through the airs of life, which is at 10 pranavayus. And that's why it is considered to be 10 divisions. The airs of life are called pran, apan, udhan, vyan, saman, and are different, and also differently qualified as naga, kurma, krikara, devatat, and dhananjaya. So there is 5 types of life airs, right, that rotates throughout the body, which is called pran, udhan, vyan, saman, right? That we've heard about these. But there's also another 5, which is called naga, kurma, krikara, devadatta, and dhananjaya. So if you want to know more about that, let me give you a little bit of explanation in this text, which is text 7. But then there's more explanation of it actually through text 10, in the text 10. But you have to combine it together. I will send you some pictures. So pranavayu is the breathing in the nose. Then apana is air that evacuates through the rectum, because it's all air that causes motions. That's why I've been using this term pneumatic. So adjust food in stomach, right? It's also done by air. It's called saman. Then udhan, air through the throat. Stoppage constitutes suffocation. Like, for example, this is called the udhan vayu. And total air circulates throughout the body is called the vyana vayu. Now, the other ones, the naga, the other 5 airs, they are responsible for autonomous actions. Autonomous actions, mostly. The naga facilitates the opening of eyes and mouth. The krikara increases appetite. The kurma vayu, I'm contracting my muscles, but that's not the muscles are contracting, it is the air that's causing the contraction. It's called kurma. Devadatta helps relaxation by opening the mouth, like yawning. And then dhananjaya helps sustenance. It sustains the body. It is the last air that moves out that causes rigor mortis. The body is not sustained in its shape or form. It is the last air that moves out when the body is dead. And when it moves out, dhananjaya moves out, then rigor mortis sets in. Quite a science. The consciousness of the soul becomes polluted by the material atmosphere, and thus various activities are exhibited in the false ego or bodily identification. So the consciousness, which is a Jnana Shakti, requires different kinds of impressions within it, becomes contaminated, and this is what we need to clean. So when we say material consciousness, it means that this Mahat Tattva which gets transformed into our Chitta. That's also Lord Chaitanya when it says Chetto Darpanamarjanam. The mirror of the heart is actually the Chitta. It is a portion of the Mahat Tattva that gives us consciousness, the soul. And therefore we identify, it is an interface where we identify with objects, and therefore we develop material consciousness. We will understand that as we go along. So these various activities are described in Gita as Bahushakhayanantascha Buddhaya Vyavasayan. The conditioned soul is bewildered into various activities for want of pure consciousness. In pure consciousness, the activity is one. The consciousness of the individual soul becomes one with the supreme consciousness, where there is complete synthesis between the two. Okay, so the monist believes that there is only one consciousness, whereas the sattvatas or the devotees believe, although there is undoubtedly one consciousness, they are one because there is agreement. The individual consciousness is advised to dovetail with the supreme consciousness. Each one of us also, we are a portion of that supreme consciousness, but because of that supreme consciousness reflected through Jnana Shakti, as into the portion of the Mahatattva that particular to us, we actually pollute it with our different activities. So it's called the polluted consciousness, material consciousness. So, but the consciousness of the Supreme Lord is not polluted, but our consciousness becomes polluted. But the soul, which energizes the body, it doesn't become polluted. The soul stays exactly the same, but the consciousness becomes polluted. Can you understand this? Yes, no, oui, très bien.
Yes, Prabhu. This is deep science, but it is interesting because I've been looking forward. I'm actually meditating as you're speaking because maybe I'll speak with you after this class. I'm meditating, and I think Krishna is very magnanimous by allowing us to have you for this section of this Bhagavatam teaching. I can't thank you enough, probably. I'm very grateful and thankful to Krishna for arranging this, honestly. I don't know about others, but this is my...
Just don't meditate here. Don't become a yogi. Okay, we can have some fun. Right. So the conditioned soul is bewildered into various activities for want of pure consciousness. So in pure consciousness, the activity is one, that is the service of Krishna. The consciousness of the individual soul becomes one with the Supreme when it is completely in synthesis. So we are using all these different ingredients, that is connecting to the consciousness and is polluting the consciousness. So when we start to use a sense objects for the pleasure of Krishna, when we use the senses for the pleasure of Krishna, when we use the working senses for the pleasure of Krishna, when we use the knowledge acquiring senses for the pleasure of Krishna, when we use the mind into acquiring information related to Krishna, when we use our intelligence in activities of all the senses and all the life airs in service of Krishna, when we use our ahankara to develop humility and serve the pure devotees of Krishna, then everything is in one. Then I will become Krishna conscious. That's Prabhupada very smartly put the science together. He says Krishna consciousness. So if you're Krishna, if you're in Krishna consciousness, we are Krishna conscious, then everything is ingredient supplied by the Supreme Lord is being used for the service of Krishna. Then the material consciousness is cleaned. So Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, clean the material consciousness. Chitta means the material consciousness. The mirror of the heart is a material consciousness. So it's a Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So you clean the mirror of the heart, which is a material consciousness. You clean that material consciousness and make it Krishna conscious by the chanting of the holy name. So the word he uses is Cheto. So the translation, the mirror of the heart, it is the mind. No, it is a chitta. The mind is just an element also. It's also a sense. So, but we go by actually liberating the mind first and the senses. So so we are reading the individual conscious. I'm reading the second part of the paragraph here. The monists believe that there's only one consciousness, whereas the sattvata or the devotees believe that although there is undoubtedly one consciousness, they are one because there is agreement. Okay, so I can have my consciousness separate from the Lord, and there's no agreement with his consciousness, because I'm given a little bit of the ability of the material energy, which also enacts consciousness in me. the Mahatattva, right? So therefore, then the soul can have that Jnana Shakti, that knowledge of its energy, and then it uses it for itself, for its own sake. There's no agreement with the Supreme Lord. When there's agreement, all is one. That's why the spiritual person, the pure devotee, he sees everything. He is in Krishna and Krishna and everything. So the individual consciousness, Arjuna, is advised to dovetail with the Supreme Consciousness and maintain his conscious purity. It is foolish to try to stop the activities of consciousness, but they can be purified when they are dovetailed with the Supreme. This consciousness is divided into three modes of self-identification according to the proportion of purity. Adhyatmika, or self-identification with the body and mind. Adibhautika, self-identification with material products. And Adidevika, identification as a servant of the Lord. So here Prabhupada is very smartly put it together. Of the three, Adidevika, self-identification is the beginning of purity of consciousness in persons of the desire of the Lord. So remember these triangular things I had explained, Adidevika, Adibhautika, Adhyatmika. So this is again explained in a slightly different way. When we start to, instead of trying to relate to the demigods, we state that whatever is being allowed to happen in my life is Devika, by the Lord. And disregarding that intermediary way, it is the demigods. But for me, is Deva. It's my Supreme Lord who's allowing me to do these things. With what? With the objects that He's supplied me, material products. And the Adibhautika. And me, Adhyatmika, with the proportion of my mind and intelligence I'm doing with these material objects. But who is allowing me? Adidevika, which is essentially the devatas, but I can only see the Lord. I don't, because they're working under Him. So in that triangular thing I explained to you, right? In an intermediary way, the demigods are allowing us to do things, but we do not see the intermediacy of the demigods. We see the Supreme Lord because we are sattvatas, we are devotees. Is that clear or is it complex? No?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. The gigantic universal form of the Supreme Lord is the first incarnation and plenary portion of the Super Soul. Right? That we know, the gigantic universal form. He is a self on an unlimited number of living entities and is within rest, and in Him rests the aggregate creation, which thus flourishes. So that form of the Lord is upon which everything is kind of resting. All the elements, all the forms, all the shapes are created through His universal Virat Rupa. So the Supreme Lord expands Himself in two ways, by plenary, personal plenary expansion and separated minute expansions. Right? The personal plenary expansions are Vishnu Tattva and the separate expansions are us, the living entities. So the living entities are very small. They are sometimes described as marginal energy of the Lord. Okay? We are different energy and we exist in the material world. We can exist in the material world. That's why we're considered marginal, because we can roam here and roam there. But the mystic yogis consider the living entities and super soul as one and the same. So there's a lot of different, very deep points in there, you know. But as you read along, you will try to understand some of them. What is it? So the mystic yogi is considered the living entities because the mystic yogi, he is trying to meditate on a form and he sees the Supreme Lord there next to the Atma, and therefore sometimes he mistakes that the living entity and Paramatma are the same. So it is, however, a minor point of controversy. After all, everything created rests on the gigantic Virat or universal form of the Lord. So here again, this explanation is given. The gigantic universal form is represented by 3, 10, and 1 in the sense that he's the body and the mind and the senses. He's a dynamic force for all movements. by 10 kinds of life energy, and he's a one heart where life energy is generated. Do you follow this? Life energy or consciousness, the Jiva Shakti, is generated as one. Okay? And what is a free? The dynamic force, the body, the mind, and senses is the free. And the dynamic force for all movements are the 10. Do you understand this at this point, Prabhu? Is it clear this? I hope you.
Yeah, we're trying to follow. I'm trying to follow. So that can also speak.
There's a picture I can send you, but I should have sent you back, but I didn't read through what I had to study, discuss today. I will send you the pictures. Or maybe you have it in the overview. Don't you have it in the overview?
The picture, let me see. I have it in front of me.
Let me see. I'll get it.
I'm going back. I was actually ahead of the Unit 9. I'm going back there. There is no picture in chapter 6. Yes. The only table that is there any other one?
No, there isn't.
There isn't.
I will have to send you the picture.
Yeah, they only put a table outlining the demigod part
I'll
of
send
the
you
body
the
functions.
Yeah, I'll send you the picture. Then it makes sense, and you'll keep it, and then you read through over and over again. Okay? So with a picture, then we can go through that again. Okay, so let me read the text then. The Supreme Lord is the super soul of all the demigods and instructed in the task of constructing the cosmic manifestation. Being thus prayed by the demigods, he thought to himself that just manifest the gigantic form for their understanding. So when the demigods prayed, then he actually manifested the gigantic form. Sometimes the Hiranyagarbha or Hiranmaya is considered to be like a subtle form, like a blueprint on which the universe is created. And that blueprint is the actual energetic representation of the Lord to give shape to everything. So this is for most people, this is a very difficult chapter. This is probably one of the most difficult chapters to understand. I can see that there's a bit of a confusion from everyone's side, but you can read through again and ask the questions that's required. So I will stop here. Okay, I will send you some information. I will create some diagram for you. Okay, and I will send you these diagrams, Rose. So then this will make sense to you. This one is free and 10, and the 10 life airs, and then the consciousness of the jivas, right? So when we say let me go back one point with you. Let me go back just one point with you. Okay, so that you don't get so confused. Like, you see this? Can you see this, Prabhu? Yeah?
Yes.
Let me try to make sense of something for you. You see this Mahat Tattva here? Yes?
Yeah.
Can you reconcile this as being an element of creation? Ahankar you can, ego. Mind you can, 5 gross elements you can. But can you reconcile this as being what? What is your impression of Mahat Tattva?
Prabhu, is it not the aggregate element of creation?
Yeah, but how is that here an element of creation individually? Now you remember in the last chapter, when we were discussing I had given you a let me explain to you. I hope I have kept it here. Wait, let me see if I have the document I gave last time. I had given let me get that thing back. Generation of doer cause and effect. Just give me 1 minute, I'll finish with this then. I forgot what I named the file. There was a file I sent you last time. I can't remember. There's 2 files I sent you in the chapter 5. I can't remember what I renamed it from.
Okay. You said generate of other cause and effect.
Generation of doer, cause and effect, but there's another file also I sent.
That's Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3 overview.
No, another one also I sent you.
What I have here, did I not download it?
Where I put the generation of elements.
I'm not sure I copied that.
This, but there's another one, isn't it? This I sent you, right?
Yes.
But there's another one I sent together with this or after this.
Yeah, I don't think I copied that.
No, generation of elements. I did send.
Did any student receive that?
Huh?
Dear God brothers, did any one of you receive that? No one is responding. Are we tired?
Hello.
Yes. Did you receive any other file apart from this one?
No.
I
No.
did send.
Not at all.
Yeah, maybe you didn't remember to send it.
No, I did. Wait, let me see. Hey, just take a little minute. Oh, if I didn't, a big mistake. Where is it now? Anyway, I will have it sorted out before Sunday. I had created a very nice file where there was a star in it, and the star represented the glance of the Lord, the time factor, and the Mahatma. Remember?
Yeah, I think you didn't remember to send to us.
I didn't remember to send to you.
Yeah, I think you spoke about it, but you didn't send.
Oh.
Yeah, you said you were going to send the file, but you didn't.
So I can't remember why I kept it now. I hope I haven't lost it. It took me a long time to create that. Okay, Prabhu, I will stop here. I'm just I have to find it, and I will send it. I've already worked it out. I hope I've saved it properly. If I've lost it, it's a problem. Yeah. So then I can send it to you. Then you will see that at each time of the generation of the elements, each section of the generation of the elements, there is that principle of Mahatattva. Okay, so we will understand that more then. Okay, Hare Krishna, I'm sorry about this.
Yeah,
I hope that I have still saved the file. It was an important, took me about a couple of hours to make. So
we pray.
Bhagavatam ki jai. So we will meet on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you so
much. Please be on time. Be on time. We will finish on time because I have I think I have my classes to follow with Vyayachi now. But 4, and then I think I have to give classes on the Africa platform today, right?
Yeah, we're expecting you
at 7. Yeah, please, Asarika Prabhu, put the time for Mauritius also in everything.
Okay, I told them I'll work on that now.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Vancha Karpatarubhyas Cha Kripa
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.